little bit about hacking in general, um, and, and any question. That's a lot to unpack in a short period of time. But I'll try to be as honest as I can about the questions. I understand that coming from um, a student's point of view, I imagine that it may be, intimidating to break into such a, big industry. But it is a fantastic community to be a part of. It's a fantastic career choice for anyone interested in any of the myriad of career options you have in cybersecurity. So with that, let's get going. There we go. So I have been in the industry for 13 years in general, doing IT, network engineer into infrastructure, and for the past 7 years, I've been focusing on cybersecurity. What got me into cybersecurity actually was Cal Poly Pomona. I've been doing stuff and things like side projects, hacking and stuff since I don't know, when I was young. But I didn't do it professionally until after Cal Poly. I met a lot of fantastic people at clubs such as Fast, doing some really amazing things, met some really cool people, and it really kind of gave me the courage to take a step forward into that as a professional career. And it wasn't something that I had to be some, basement dwelling genius to do. And in fact, that, I was pretty good at. And many of the people I know in this industry come from really different walks of life and do some really interesting things on their downtime. And I've yet to meet the person that I haven't learned something from in this industry. It is honestly fantastic. I'm one of the ops team leads in WRC CDC. I have made contests for DEF CON. I have done all kinds of things. I brew beer. That's enough about myself. But if you want to ask me any questions or talk or whatever it is, here's my Twitter QR code. Also on Discord, I am in the Fast Discord as well. Feel free to ping me whenever you like. I am always online. I am basically a computer. Changing landscape. So let's just kind of start from very beginning. Information security. What is it? So information security really is our way of describing a mechanism to an organization to manage risk, right? So it's a department full of people, and those people will make risk-based decisions to hopefully make the organization a better place and kind of align with whatever the business needs are. So that can mean a lot of things, right? That can mean working for an organization to manage endpoints, like from an IT standpoint, and make sure they have antivirus installed, to someone who does malware research and vulnerability assessment, to someone who does pen testing, someone that gets paid to hack into systems. It is really diverse. It is very large. It is awesome. Anything you can possibly think that you might be interested in is probably a paid job in cybersecurity. It's fantastic. And it's so diverse now. We used to hear things like, oh, you have to know networking to be a hacker. You have to know networking to be a cybersecurity anything. It's not true. Networking is a fantastic thing to know, and it's something that is understand some portion of hacking. Cybersecurity, computers in general, don't let that bar you from thinking about coming into the industry. It really is a non-issue. Anything you need to learn, you can either learn by a school, your friends, YouTube, online, and you can learn the building blocks that you need in order to be successful in any facet of cybersecurity. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we have an amazing number of jobs available. It's fantastic. So this will be really brief, but there's a really awesome SANS poster. I posted it in Discord before. It is a list of just 20 careers of the hundreds that you could possibly choose of being in the cybersecurity industry, right? We have cloud security, pen testing, people that focus on IoT, ICS systems, which are things like maintaining infrastructure for water, power grids, like for public, for example. People that do social for a living, that social engineer, do OSINT, malware. It's a pretty crazy time to get into the industry. A pivot from maybe 10 years ago where we had, a handful of roles: cybersecurity analyst, engineer, incident response, of course. But it's so wild now, the amount of choices that you have, the niches you can really get into and be paid to do. It's fantastic. Um, Getting into that, we have some career trends I want to share, which are really fun. So, there's a lot of really fun trends right now in cybersecurity. There's a lot of jobs, right? And this is from Cyberseek. This is a estimate for 2022, in that they posit that there's about 715,000 job openings, with the number to reach about 3.5 million in the next several years. There is a lot of openings. If you want a job in cybersecurity, there's a good chance that you'll get it. Kind of on the right hand side, you can see kind of titles here like analyst, software developer. It's amazing. With that being said, parts of the reason why we have such a weird supply and demand ratio is that there aren't enough qualified people that are getting into it. And that means a lot to many different people. Qualifications can simply mean just going to college, having a certificate, which is a fantastic way to get into, an entry level job. With that being said, we have a lot of people, for example, in IT, that are doing help desk, that are doing web dev, that just don't know where to start. And unfortunately, as time grows, businesses are starting to look at cybersecurity as risk management. And because of that, they are wanting to eliminate more risk in their hires. So they're looking for people that are more qualified. And it sort of starts to become this walled garden approach where you start to see kind of ridiculous job requirements for junior level positions. Oh, you need to have 10 years in React, and maybe it hasn't even been around that long, and it's an entry level position, and also you don't get paid. There's a lot of really ridiculous job requirements out there right now, but again, don't let that dissuade you. There are so many jobs open right now. And if you need help looking for any type of, internship, you're looking for any type of entry level position, DM me afterwards. Happy to point you in the right direction. Send you to a few different websites that I know are actively recruiting. Some fantastic groups on Twitter that do their best to update recent job postings for all levels of experience, not just people who are, post their college career or post, looking for a senior position or whatnot. Cyberseek also has a fantastic graph, and it's interactive in the sense that you can see, okay, where do I want to start, right? It's not just coming from out of college and going into, for example, one of like the big three or a big pen testing firm or anything like that. There's lots of organizations you can go to work for and kind of work your way up into these different facets. It's not just like, oh man, I wasn't able to get this job as a cybersecurity engineer. Like, well, some of these roles are kind of viewed as a little bit more senior than others, but it doesn't mean it should bar you from trying to get into the industry either. There are many different ways, from the risk assessment point of view, from auditing, from even, like we mentioned, IT and help desk. There's many different ways to kind of get into the org and get your foot into the door, so to speak, right? And it pays really well, right? These are some of our trends for security over the last, from 2021, 2022 from Glassdoor. And if it's hard to read here, a lot of them float around six figures, right? It's the median, probably a little bit more in California, other states that are high cost of living, a little bit less than other states that aren't high cost of living, but it's a good career to get into if you're looking to make money as well. So that's always a plus, right? And I mentioned before, I'll try to be as honest as possible as I can when kind of discussing these things with you. I don't want to, set you astray in any type of way. So the fact is that, cybersecurity makes good money. They just do. And if that's something that's interesting to you, which to most people it is, it's definitely it's a plus. Breaking into the industry, this could be hard, right? It is challenging to say, am I qualified enough to apply for this job? Even more so when you hear about all these crazy things happening online, Twitter, Reddit, wherever, of these people like, oh, this person was able to hack into X number of systems and they got offered a job at Mandiant, right? That those sensationalized like news articles, things on Twitter aren't the norm, right? Like it's a job like any other job. And that should be approached with the fact that, I mean, I assume that many of the people here are, going to Cal Poly. You're in various colleges, whether it be like CIS, CS, business, wherever. And every single one of you are qualified to apply for these jobs in your own different ways. Whether it be, maybe I don't have the right degree for this type of position, like, well, there's certifications for that, right? You can get an internship, you can volunteer. There's lots of different ways to break into the industry. But college still is the most important pathway. This isn't something that I am just positing because I feel like it. There are some statistics I'll provide and sources at the end of it, specifically from a few different sources, New York Times, Glassdoor, as well as the Cyberseek website, that college is still a very popular pathway. It really sets you up to apply and to get a lot of these different positions. With that being said, hacking isn't dead either, right? That's how I learned a lot of what I know, is by having your home lab, doing things at home, breaking stuff, asking your friends like, hey, how did you fix this? Or being a part of an IRC, being a part of Discords, whatever, and saying, hey, I found this really cool thing. What can I do with it? It's one of those really interesting things that if any of you are part of, like, for example, like a DEF CON group, highly recommend it. You'll meet a lot of really amazing like-minded people. It's a fantastic way to network yourself, and it really goes the distance when it comes to time to, like, let's say your college career is over with, you're graduating, and maybe you meet someone that able to help you, get your foot into the door and get a job. The hill feels tall, right? It seems like it's challenging, like, oh, how do I get this position? But it's not. Maybe you're just wearing the wrong shoes, the mentality, so to speak, right? And look, I think FAST is an amazing club. You are very lucky to have such a very amazing, engaged club as you do right now. I remember when I was going to Cal Poly actively, I was a super, super senior before I graduated. It took me like 10 years. And way back when, FAST was really small. And in a lot of ways, a lot of the clubs were small. MISA was doing its thing. Swift was amazing, doing its thing, but still also small. And I don't think that there is a better time than now to be a part of, like what you're a part of right now. Like, I think just watching the Discord, watching the people have dialogue, communications, even the rare times they visit campus, watching people just talk to each other and all the cool things y'all do. It's really a great time to be a part of this. And if you're looking for kind of that professional group as well, like outside of school, it does exist. You can get kind of like, like let's say a fast like experience with a group like ISACA. There's a lot of different associations like MISA and ISAC, and a lot of really cool professional groups you can be a part of when you graduate that will do similar things. They're just like-minded people. And there's also DEF CON. If you haven't been to DEF CON, go. 100% recommend it. Even if you only go once, it's called Hacker Summer Camp for a reason. And if you just want to meet people, if you don't want to do any of the craziness and you just want to do something fun like a scavenger hunt, even if Vegas is not your thing, I would recommend at least going once. It is definitely an experience. The DEF CON groups that are associated with DEF CON are 100% worth it. They're usually, if you're not familiar with it, you'll see DEF CON groups kind of start with like DC plus the area code. So if you see something online, Twitter, Discord, like DC 818, well, that's a DEF CON group for 818. Some of the popular ones around here, DC 909 has a group. They haven't met in a while. It's been a few years, but they're still around. DC 818 is pretty active, 562. RC, Reverse Shell Corp. They're former 562. A lot of them are either college alum or Cal Poly alum. I know 909 and 818 and 562 have a lot of Cal Poly students. It's a great thing to be a part of. And security competitions. I know Jenny mentioned this earlier. There's a lot of fantastic competitions that you can be part of. Your security contest, as it were. WRC CDC. If you want to just volunteer and say, hey, how do you build systems? How do you automate stuff? How does it work? Just from a infrastructure point of view, we're happy to have you. You're more than welcome to volunteer, even as a student. It does bar you from competing as a student in the future. Once you start doing your volunteer time. However, if that's not something that's interesting to you, the blue team side, we're happy to have you on operations, automation. We have a lot of other teams that just focus more on the function of how it's ran, like kind of like a gold team standpoint, like where does funding come from? How does the money work? We're pretty transparent once you're a part of our group, and we're happy to kind of lead you in the right direction. And if that's interesting to you, message me. But with that being said, your CPTC Hive Storm, your National Cyber League, there's a lot of really fantastic competitions that I highly recommend. And there's some free ones. You got some CTFs, like you have your Hack in the Box, try Hack Me. And then usually every single security conference you'll go to or you see online, whether it be like Super, Layer 1, formerly ShellCon, they usually have a CTF tied to it. So I highly recommend those as well. They'll be a lot of fun. So we'll go into security trends now. So if you're interested in what are hot button items right now in the cybersecurity industry, to be honest, not really much has changed. Like we have our few buzzwords and we have our few things that we're pivoting into in general, but there's a couple of things that are kind of hot topic right now. Artificial intelligence, machine learning is definitely up there, especially as you see like fun projects like, Crayon or Dolly come out. People are super interested in like, oh, AI can do stuff and things. Well, yeah, of course. Where AI sucks is that it's not good at making human decisions, right? So it might be really good at taking words you type in and finding random garbage images online and making a brand new image. Like, yeah, that's fun. But then if you look at how AI is set up for something like, let's say like a Sophos firewall, they have like a machine learning component. And it's really interesting to see how those work. Just as an example, like AI oftentimes is really good with dealing with numbers, but not really good with dealing with words. So you'll see engineers take they'll take strings, they'll turn those into integers, right? And they start feeding in millions and millions of cases to start matching patterns to these integers, to say like, oh, if someone types in this PowerShell command to use a lol bin to execute this certain piece of software. I know I just said a lot right there. But let's say you're trying to do a hacky thing, and you can train your AI enough, it can start to, find those patterns. The problem though is that there's so much variability in that AI typically has way more false positives and false negatives, being that it falsely identifies something as being evil or something as being a bad thing when it wasn't. I think when I was at DEF CON, I was at Las Vegas B-Sides watching a talk on Sophos. And the stat I saw for a successful AI and machine learning program was about 1% true positives. And that was the success to them, right? So that means you have 99% of just wrong. It's bad. But with that being said, it's definitely part of the future. Automation is definitely the way everything is going if it's not already there. If that's something that's interesting to you, there are many jobs in cybersecurity that focus on AI, machine learning, and there's a little bit of crossover there, similar to security and DevOps. where does that line get drawn of, am I a software engineer? Do I do security things? It's kind of both. And it really just depends on the org and where you work, but it's not going anywhere. If that's something that's interesting to you, by all means pursue it. It will not be a waste of time. IoT, if you've heard of IoT, for those that you haven't heard of IoT, IoT is just Internet of Things. It's, your, I don't know, your Amazon Alexa, your radio that has connected to the internet, your refrigerator that can take pictures of your food. All those things are IoT. They're all garbage in the sense that they're very hard to secure. They don't have best practices. They're really hard to update, and it's not going anywhere. The fact that you can probably hack your toaster, you're going to be able to hack your toaster 10 years from now. So if IoT is something that's interesting to you, yeah. In fact, if IoT is interesting to you, come to DEF CON. There's a fantastic IoT village, and you can hack all kinds of things. They literally have a box of garbage, and it's all IoT stuff that people don't want anymore. You can pick it up, you can hack it. They have guides, how-tos. They have people that have done it before. Another Cal Poly alum, Spicy Wasabi, he's given a talk here before, and if he hasn't, he should be giving a talk soon. He's really good at IoT. Definitely ping him if that's something you're interested in. He's given a few talks at the IoT Village. So this is trends of attacks on networks from the last year for 2022. If you haven't heard, the DBI report from Verizon is kind of the de facto standard for all things trends when it comes to cybersecurity. They compose just tens of thousands of security incidents across multiple different verticals, and they compile it together and they try to do some data analysis on it. And it's definitely worth looking into if you haven't checked it out before. It is a massive report, but it gives us a good idea of where things are in the industry, right? Are people still being social engineered? Well, yes. Is ransomware still really popular? Yeah, it is. Denial of service, yeah, of course, especially with IoT. And in a lot of ways, we can kind of use this data to verify that really not much has changed. There's a couple of big things. If you're familiar with the SolarWinds hack from 2021, and that was kind of enlightening because that opened up a whole new avenue of partner attacks, the so-called supply chain that I'm sure if you've spent any amount of time on the internet looking at security or hacking things, you've heard of that term. And what that just means is that either misconfiguration or exploitation or some type of misuse thereof of a partner in which they have access to your network. So like if you have a vendor, let's say it's a HVAC vendor, and they have an account to get into your network, like, well, that's considered a partner attack. If you purchase computers from Dell and their firmware gets hacked and you can remotely access their BIOS tools or whatever, right? And that's the supply chain attack. There's just different ways to categorize it, but either way, it's super interesting. And just to kind of encapsulate all of that is a lot is changing, but not really, right? The industry is just getting bigger, which is a good thing. It's becoming more niche in the way that people spend their time. It's not just help desk or IT people or sysadmins that also do security things. It's really, really specific, which is a fantastic thing. So you can take some solace in that if you want to get a position doing security stuff, you'll probably be doing security stuff. They probably won't be throwing you at random things at your job. Like, oh, hey, could you fix this door? The door doesn't close and has power to it, because IT can fix all things that are plugged into the wall, right? And with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about requirements creep for jobs in cybersecurity. It's not uncommon to have a job posting or an interview talk about all kinds of really high level crazy things, right? Give me I'm going to do a programming test with you. I'm going to give you an RFC, define it, and show me how it works on paper. I know this job has nothing to do with networking. but give me all the layers of networking, explain what they do. And 9 times out of 10, it's not indicative of the job you're actually going to be doing at that company. Yes, it's nice to be able to demonstrate working knowledge of Kerberos, for example, right? But I have Google, right? I can look those things up. And I have met very few recruiters that were mad at people or students applying for jobs that say, I'll just Google it. Like, their internet is a repository of knowledge, and as long as you can navigate those waters and find the right thing you need, there's no reason why you should have to be a receptacle of useless knowledge that you don't use 99.99% of the time. Don't let that dissuade you. Lots of people will give really interesting advice when it comes to preparing for an interview. And what I like to tell students or even friends, colleagues that are applying for jobs is read the poster really well for the job requirements. Look up the things that they're calling out specifically and try to do some research on those things and ignore the rest. If they are asking you some crazy questions during the interview about something that you don't feel like has anything to do with the position, feel free to answer honestly and just say, like, I'm not sure how Kerberos works. Give your best guess if you have a good idea, and just say, like, hey, you know what? I would probably just Google it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And certifications are a great way to demonstrate that knowledge to potential future employer, right? On the right-hand side, we have some stats from Cyberseek. And here it kind of demonstrates of all the people that they polled who are hiring, what are they looking for? What kind of certifications are they looking for? So you see here we have, Security Plus is really popular, CISP is really popular, and it kind of goes down and down from there. GIAC is definitely more and more popular, especially as SANS, if you've heard of SANS, has gained popularity over the years as a really trusted vendor for both training and certifications. But what's interesting here is that what this is demonstrating to me is that it's demonstrating requirements creep. And what I mean by that is, over the years, because organizations have viewed security less as IT and more as risk management, their requirements for the positions have gone up. They want to, like I mentioned earlier, manage their own risk to make sure that they hire the right person for the job. And if you read more into these stats, for example, they talk about one position in general, which is a information security analyst. And that's an entry-level position, right? That is the most sought after job that needs to be filled the most. Those are, what I mean by that is they have the most open positions, right? But if you look at this graph here, we can see that Security Plus entry-level certificate, great to have. I'd recommend it if you are looking for a place to start. Is number 1 on the list, but CISP is number 2. Now, if you're not familiar with CISP is kind of a gold standard when it comes to security certification for anyone in a leadership position, management, or I would say, even cybersecurity engineers, anyone who wants a little bit of a more to work on their kind of more knowledge base, less technical aspects of security. CISP is a great certification for. But yeah, that's not what the trends are showing. The trends aren't showing an increase in jobs for management. Well, they are, but they're mostly showing an increase in jobs in entry-level positions, right? So why is CISP one of the most highly requested certificates if it's a certificate for either management or someone with a little bit more experience, right? And what I mean by that is, of course, you can go out of college, you can go right for your CISP. However, you can't actually get the certificate until you have so many years of professional experience first. You can pass the test, which makes you an associate, but then you actually can't get the cert until you have so many years of experience. So that doesn't really make any sense. They're just making it hard for a lot of, either college students or newcomers into the arena to get those jobs. So my parting thoughts with that is, like, certs drive that conversation, right? But they're not the gatekeeper. And and I'm about getting closer to being done, but ultimately the requirements will be driven by you one day, right? When you are in your cybersecurity career, however many years from now, um, you folks will be the ones that are hiring. You set the requirements. In the same way that when I interview candidates, I look for what I want and things I think that are unnecessary. Remember what it was like when you were going through college and getting your first positions or later on, and drive that conversation and into the way that you want to see recruits be hired. And if you feel like someone is gatekeeping you or someone is preventing you from doing something that you feel like you are either deserving of it or you're qualified, then let's make that change, and then we'll make it better for everyone. um Imposter syndrome, I included this because I feel like a lot of people have this. You are qualified. If you feel like I see this job and you feel like you're qualified, you're probably qualified. Apply for it. Don't talk yourself out of it. It's really easy to get caught up in our feelings or emotions, have anxiety over it, like, oh man, like I'm not as good as X person or Y person, I feel like I don't deserve this. No, apply for it. The worst that will happen is they will say no. But if you don't apply, then that door is just closed on you forever, right? Or at least until the job opens up again. So I have some of these sources here if you're interested. All these are super easy to Google. But if you're interested in stats or you're a statistics nerd, the DBI report is fantastic. If you're interested in different ways to apply for jobs, how to become qualified for certifications or whatnot, Cyberseek, Cybersecurity Ventures are two fantastic websites. And again, if you are looking for some places just to apply, message me on Discord. I'm happy to send you websites, happy to send you job openings that I'm aware of, a Twitter group that I'm a part of that also has open positions. But yeah, let me know. Let me know how I can help. And I say this for last, obviously, but if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'll be as honest as I can. And if you don't have any questions, then I hope you guys have a kick-ass semester. Right? Isn't school the best?
It's my favorite. Anybody in person have any questions for Blue? Okay, I'll start. So Blue, how do you think the best way to go on combat students who typically just don't know what specific part of InfoSec they want to get into? I mean, we always talk about how 5 years ago you could just be a pen tester, but nowadays you can be you could be a web app pen tester, you could be a network pen tester, you can be a OSINT specialist. How would somebody specifically, I guess, how would you recommend at least for someone to try to get from like a broad field into like a more specific one?
That's a good question. I'm kind of two schools of thought, I guess. My first school of thought is really, I guess, traditional, in the sense that it's easier to get a job when you have a job. So if you aren't able to find the position you're looking for, like let's say, oh, I want to focus on AWS pen testing. I only want to do AWS. I think it's badass. That's all I want to work on. But you can't find really anything in that arena. But you can find something that does, I don't know, web app development. Let's say it's not even close to it. I would say that apply for the positions that are open and available at the time, and you can always laterally move. If security is your thing and you end up in a position where you can't do security stuff and things day to day, I would say that try to work that into the position, right? I'm not saying don't do what you were hired to do, but if you have some companies call it free time, they call it, take Fridays off to do stuff and things and bring it back to the company. Try to threat model in what you work on. If you get hired doing something that's kind of not related to security, but you keep that security mentality, you can say, hey, we developed this weird refrigerator app, but I was thinking about it and I'm pretty sure someone could hack into this, X, Y, and Z, right? We don't do data sanitation. We don't do whatever. Try to work it into the conversation. And in that way, even if you have a job that you're not 100% happy with, or doing what you want to do, you can always be learning. You can always be applying that security mentality to any job you're in. Even if you're at that job for 6 months, a year, 18 months, this is kind of controversial. A lot of people don't necessarily believe in this, but I'm of the opinion that you don't owe your employer anything. You don't owe the org anything. If you want to leave after 4 months, you want to leave after 6 months, and that's what's best for you, do it. The only person, right, that is living your life is you. You shouldn't be unhappy. You should do exactly what you want to do. So if you need to take a job and then move 6 months later just because, there's nothing open, the jobs are all taken for the summer, but you see something open up in the fall, do it. And if you can't find a job, then home labs will be your best friend. CTFs and competitions will be your best friend for sure. Come join us in any number of DC groups, DEF CON groups, Discords for hacking. Feel free to message me as well, and I can get you to some pretty cool groups where they can, teach you some stuff and things and kind of get you pointed in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Blue. I really appreciate you coming here and talking to us, especially for our first meeting. It's been such a gift. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap things up? Perfect. Yes. Hi. Okay, so Blue, we have a student here who's asking on what kind of events would you recommend for absolute beginners?
Oh, that's fun. So for absolute beginners, I would say that one of my favorite websites over the last couple of years have been TryHackMe. I like the way TryHackMe demonstrates what they know. I like how they put together their CTF, so to speak. They have some really cool, what they call like rooms, if you want to learn about stuff in specifics. Even if you're a beginner, you don't know anything at all, it's a great way to learn some of the vernacular, learn some of the, the common lingo, and get pointed in the right direction. I really do like TryHackMe. And obviously, if you're a part of FAST and you're going to meetings, just being there, just being a part of your club, talking with everyone at FAST, being a part of Discord, and you'll see throughout the weeks, months, years, someone will tell you about what's happening. Someone will kind of get you into the know, and you'll be able to kind of participate more and more stuff. And then worst case scenario, if you're just not finding exactly what you need, come to DEF CON, go to a big security con. There's lots of ways to get in where they have scholarships where you can get in for free. Some even include travel, and you can experience the information overload, but it'll definitely point you in the right direction.
Would you actually just help with information overload? Because I know when I was a new student, and I'm sure a lot of students in here right now are probably overloaded with this information. I mean, even when we're talking about FAST, we have so many competitions, we have so many conferences, we have so many guest speakers, we have so many workshops, we have so much stuff. How do you deal with everything? How do you pick one?
If you don't know what you're interested in yet, but you like the idea, like you like technology, or you think hacking is cool, or whatever you're into, I would, if it were me, this is what I've done in the past. I've gone on YouTube, for example, and I've just watched videos. I've sat there and I binged DEF CON videos. I've binged talks from different cons that are local, like Layer One's in Pasadena, Shell Con is in Long Beach, and just kind of watching what they've talked about. And then the more you kind of watch some of these cool talks, you watch people do stuff and things. When you pick up on that thing that you're interested in, you're like, oh, it's really cool. He hacked traffic lights. Like, I really like that. I don't know. There's something about that I think is cool. Then you can start to sit with that feeling and then unpack it. If the problem is that you kind of are, what you're interested in, but you don't know how that translates into a career, sit with that a little bit. Find more people that are like-minded. Find some even videos online, DEF CON groups, wherever, fast people, and see if you can unpack what that is that you like about that. Is it the programming? Is it the just puzzle solving? What is it about that thing that you enjoy? And then once you know what it is that you like about that thing, then it's easier to kind of figure out later, like, oh, what I really just liked was pen testing. I just like pen testing. You're right. It's hard. There's a lot of information. There's a lot going on. And just ask. Don't be afraid to ask, even if you feel like it's embarrassing, even if you feel like, oh, this is a stupid question. It's not. I have stupid questions all the time. But if you don't ask, then it may be worse. You may just sit on your feelings and build up anxiety. And then before you know it, you start to have those kind of like bad feelings of like, oh, maybe I don't belong. It's like, no, you do. You belong. A lot of us old timers are happy to help you navigate that, your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what FAST is all about. Really just making sure that everyone belongs. So I think that might be the conclusion of our questions. But if anybody has any club related questions, feel free to ask me at this moment on just anything we want to get into. Because, I want to make sure that all of you know where your resources are, know what you can get into. And like I mentioned previously, don't feel obligated to join everything. We have so much in this club that I don't think one person can fathomably do every single thing that's offered within this club. And that's fine. What I want to make sure that y'all can do is do it on your own time, pick and choose what you want to do, whatever interests you. We have so many topics. We have 4 research teams with completely different topics. We have a paid membership if you're interested in possibly some certifications, or if you want to go on possibly hear about the FBI and the NSA and some of the government speakers that we might be having later this year. If you're interested in possibly the self-hosted CTF, I know we have a lot of stuff there, but like I said, I know that y'all will hopefully be very successful this year. Just continue to show up to the meetings, continue to show up to whatever you want to show up to, and we'll be fine. And Blue, thank you so much for coming. We really, really appreciate you. I know that some students are leaving because they have class, but I know that they will also appreciate you.
Yep, no problem. And hopefully I'll see you on campus this semester.
Also, do you mind
reals.
dropping your Discord again, just for those who may want to ask? The only thing I ask of y'all is please, please, please ask in a respectful and professional way. We want to go and make sure that the guest speakers who come in here, who specifically donate part of their time here to talk to us, do feel respected. So I please ask that if you're going to reach out to Blue, we try to have a very respectful dialogue to him. And also show appreciation for all the things that he's done for us. But do you mind dropping your Discord, please?
Yep, you got it. I do it in chat. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Blue. But yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And if I don't see you, have a great semester. Enjoy it.
I'll bother you.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay, so as for some of the people are asking about paid membership, so paid membership, for those of you who are still here and curious about that, you don't have to pay membership. Again, this is something that's optional because I try to go and keep all the meat and potatoes of our club to be free as much as we can. But the paid membership basically entails that you get free merch. So you get some stickers, you get a shirt, you also get access to our certification matching program, and you also get some access to some of the other guest speakers that we have who are affiliated with the government, if any of y'all are interested in some government work. Oh, and then also the research teams. You also have access to the research teams if you want to go and work on the semester-long projects. So please let us know if you are interested in that. It's going to be $20 for the semester if you are graduating like within the semester, and it's $30, which is going to be $5 cheaper if you do it for the whole year. Anybody, do you have a question? Okay, I saw. Okay, maybe I'm crazy. Anyway, so hopefully that does solve a little bit about it. I would contact Oda specifically. Yeah, Oda's raising her hand. Regarding the memberships. So if you have any questions about the memberships, please ask her. I believe we are still going to be using Venmo. So we can go and drop that. I believe it's at Cal Poly Fast. Yeah, so our Venmo is at Cal Poly Fast, all lowercase, and that should be that. The research teams. So for our research teams, let me see what specifically the question was about the research teams. When will the research teams start their meeting? So all of our directors are a little bit different in how they run. Some directors may choose to go on, have theirs be a lot more hands-on, a lot more project-based approach. Others are going to be very specific lesson plans. It really depends on the director and how many people join. But I would specifically contact the research team director of the corresponding team that you're interested in. So let's say you're interested in blockchain. You would go and talk to Byung. Byung is our director of blockchain, and he should be available on Discord. You should be able to find him. All of us have our position titles on there if you want to find on Discord or in Slack. We also have things like Norberto, and he does the digital forensics and incident response. So that's going to be the study of basically when things hit the fan. He's going to be talking a lot about the study of digital forensics and also incident response of, when someone does specifically get hacked, or also he can go and do things with, what was that one program called? The one that, no, with DFR, the digital forensics tool that we were using. No, it was Autopsy. Yeah, it was Autopsy. So, that's going to be what we're talking about there. With cybersecurity, I believe that's going to be Ethan, and he's going to be doing something regarding Raspberry Pis. I know that he's been doing quite a lot with hardware, and I know a lot of students typically say, oh, hardware isn't necessarily for me. I'm some kind of engineer, and fast might not be for me, specifically because you're all software, but that's not always going to be the case. And Ethan is one of those examples. We also have our director of infrastructure. That's going to be our newest director. That's Jeremiah. He's going to be doing the self-hosted CTFs and a lot. So please contact them if you're interested. Is there a room for the meeting? So this is the room that's going to be 10,002. We've booked this room also for next week. So for those of you who are coming, make sure to go and find this room again. If you have any lost friends, if you have anybody who hits you up saying, hey, we're lost, definitely just direct them to here. I also gave a map link and I can go and continue to help. But yes, the membership does give discounts on certs, 50% matching. What else? Is this similar as Swift? I'd say in terms of subjects, yes, we are both two cybersecurity clubs. I would also say that we do have very similar meetings. We both do hands-on stuff. I would just say it's more about our culture and our vibes and specifically what we focus on. I know that like with our research teams, those are something that we have been doing for years now, and we continue to do them specifically because, we want students to be able to have that hands-on approach where they'll be able to pursue whatever they want. Yeah, so just let us know if you have anything, any questions, but I really appreciate y'all's time, and yeah, have this nice evening. See y'all.